Why don't we get started just because we know everybody's pressed for time. Want to thank you for joining us for 4 tips to improve the ROI from your paid search campaigns in 2021. We're going to go through this pretty quickly so you get a sense of kind of who we are and kind of we'll take on the topic really quickly. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat and we'll try to answer them as we go. If that's possible. So first, we're going to introduce ourselves. My name is Tim Ito. My partner is Bonnie Pandya. We are the co-founders of Marketing Nice Guys. We are a marketing training and consulting company based out of the Washington, D.C. area. This is a topic that we have done a lot in, over the past, I don't know, decade or so, Bonnie, wouldn't you say? It's one of those areas that's it can be complex, but I think what we're going to try to do today is simplify it down to a few core things that you can know about it, and then a few core tips that you can use today that you can walk away with today that hopefully can help you improve your ROI. All right. So we help individuals and small businesses excel in digital marketing. It's something that we feel very passionate about. As opposed to sort of the fantasy story here, we don't really sell people a lot of fantasy things. We're very grounded, I think, in reality. And what we try to do is realistically help you improve. And a lot of that is just really grinding out certain things and figuring out the best practices for, you approaching and excelling in digital marketing. All right. One of the things before we get started, we talk about the agenda. It's really important with paid search, like any digital marketing channel, to understand that you don't have unlimited resources. You can't do everything, right? Even large marketing companies that have a huge staff, they can't do everything in the space. So you got to focus where you can on those areas that move the needle. For example, you can do a really good job in paid search, but if your landing page is bad and your conversion process and let's say you have a commerce store or whatever that is bad, right? You've done all that work, but it hasn't really paid off for you. And there's a lot of different aspects of it. We're going to cover a few of those today, but it's not going to be everything. Obviously, everything would take a lot of effort to move the needle, like we said. Okay, well, let's cover the agenda today. And then I'm going to turn it over to Bonnie, who's going to kind of cover some of these other pieces. We're going to talk first about sort of the core challenges that occur with paid search campaigns. We want to get back to the marketing funnel, just because it's really important as you think about how you approach search and all the other things that you're doing. We're going to talk about developing search ad campaigns for the different parts of the funnel. We're going to cover the 4 tips. And we'll talk a little bit about the solutions we offer and then a Q&A at the end. And hopefully that'll go relatively quickly. We can kind of see finishing this in the next 30, 40 minutes. So hopefully you'll enjoy it and you'll get something out of this today. All right, Bonnie, do you want to cover some of the challenges with paid search and PPC campaigns?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Tim, for that introduction, and thank you everybody for joining. So as Tim mentioned in the beginning, paid search is really extensive and can also get complicated. And there are a lot of nuances and challenges that people face. So obviously we cannot cover a whole lot, but these are just some of the basics or some of the general challenges that working over time we have come across from our clients or other marketing specialists or PPC specialists who have been working in paid campaigns, and you can probably relate with some of these challenges. The basic one being that we are doing paid campaigns, we're running it. Everybody's saying that we are supposed to be getting positive returns from it, but it's just not. It's just not panning out that way. We're not getting a good return on ad spend. That's the number one challenge. The second challenge is kind of related to that, but it's more like, how do I measure the success of a campaign? Like there are people who do not know how to properly attribute their sales that they're getting to the paid search campaign. So there's no good measure, like people are running it, but they do not know if it's actually helping move the needle, right? The third thing is like, how do I structure a campaign? How do I go about starting it? How do I go about building it? What bidding should I use? I mean, Google Ads has made it, they've tried to simplify it, but they have made it complex at the same time by adding a lot of uh, AI related features, a lot of different small changes that not everybody user of a PPC campaign is aware of. And bidding is one of them. There are like 10 different ways you can bid on a particular campaign. So which is the right one to use? Same with the goal. When you start creating a campaign, you start with a goal, and there are a lot of goals. So what is the current goal type for my campaign? Where do I start with? And each goal comes with a certain type of ad that you can run with. So that's the other thing. And the last two are more in terms of understanding of the platform. Not everybody has a good handle on, just logging into Google AdWords and just starting running a campaign. So that's not everybody's forte. And that's why, PPC specialists exist, because that's somebody's full-time job, that they are experts in this particular area. But when small business owners are running it, they do not have a complete understanding of the platform and how to go about with it. So those are some of the challenges that we've come across. Tim, we can move on to the next slide.
Yep. All right, so let's talk about the funnel. The reason we're kind of going back to this core marketing fundamental graphic here is that paid search, a lot of people that do this in the space, they tend to use paid search only at the lower end of the funnel, right? These are people, and there's a reason for that, right? People are searching for that specific thing that sort of qualifies them for being an in-market audience that's someone looking to purchase right now, right? So, but paid search can be used in a lot of different ways. So it can be used to make people aware of something, right? Or at the middle of funnel where it's more interest, where you are acquiring somebody. Like, paid search can be used in the download process and other things like that. It can be used in the decision-making process. So yeah, are you thinking about this and this? Well, look at our client case study here, right? And you can use literally content in those areas and promote content in Google Ads to do that as well. And then obviously there are people who are looking for that final thing and really are in market, they're ready, and you hit them with an ad that helps them convert. Now, I think the reason we wanted to kind of cover this is because as you kind of think about the different touch points, paid search is only one aspect of all the touch points. So one of the things that we see that you can address right away is really structure. What we see with a lot of companies is that they put paid search over here. So they put it to the side and say, go do paid search. But paid search is really part of a larger ecosystem. If you think about it, it's your email is connected, your content development is connected, that what you're doing in social, you want to have a larger plan where you look at this entire ecosystem, and those are called touch points, right? How are you touching the customer along the way, and where does paid search play a role in that? So to give you an example, here in this graphic, paid search plays a role on the awareness or consideration side. Often it's used on the purchase side, right? Similarly, blog is considered on the consideration side here, but it's also used on the awareness side. You can go back and forth with social ads, or email. Email is often used on the conversion end as well. So it's not just one way to do it. I guess the point that we're trying to make here is you should have paid search be part of a larger plan. And that's kind of the important thing, is that paid search fits in part of what you're doing. It is not just something that you shunt off over here and do it on your own. Bonnie, do you have anything to add to that? Do you want to?
No, I mean, I think that is pretty valid that you just mentioned, that it's part of the ecosystem. It's not just one thing that you want to concentrate on. And it is, I mean, you can use paid ads, like content marketing. SEO is the main thing for marketing, but you can use paid ads to push that particular content out there for lead generation efforts, for conversion efforts, so on and so forth.
Yep. Okay. All right. So we're going to get right into it. With that kind of introduction, sort of that foundation, Bonnie's going to cover some of these 4 tips that we're going to go into detail about how you can improve the ROI of your campaigns. So tip number one.
Yeah, sounds good. All right. So I'll cover these tips. I'm just gonna go under the basic assumption that you guys have created a Google ad campaign and have a little bit familiarity in terms of um, in terms of creating a campaign, and that's what we're talking about, how we can maximize the returns from the campaign. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is that somebody can go in right away within their Google AdWords and make improvements to in order to maximize their returns, is starting with the basics and taking a look at the campaign structure. And is the account set up properly? Now, the reason this is important is because an ineffective or inefficient campaign structure can result in the budget not being spent where it needs to be spent, and that can affect the returns that somebody's getting from the campaign. I'm going to talk to you this on a high level and try to explain this, but what happens, the way the Google campaign is structured is you have your main AdWords account, which is your company-wide account. And then within that, you can have multiple campaigns. Now, campaigns are something that are created around a particular theme, a product, a demographic, audience type, so on and so forth. So that's the main campaign that you have. And within a campaign, you can have multiple ad groups. What is an ad group? Ad group is a collection of like or similar keywords that you club together, and you want to market on those keywords. Now within ad groups, you have, apart from the keywords, you have your ad copy that go along with those keywords, and then the landing page that is directed to when somebody clicks on the ad. When somebody clicks on the ad. Now a campaign can have multiple ad groups, but an ad group cannot have multiple campaigns. It's like the parent-child relationship, and this is really important because one key setting that comes into play here is the budget, is how you're utilizing the budget. Because the budget, your daily budget or your monthly budget for your ad campaign is set up at the campaign level and not at the ad group level. So let's say you have a campaign with 4 ad groups and you have a $100 budget. It's not like each ad group is going to be using $25 per day. That it doesn't happen that way. It's based on whatever is the most needy or the most popular ad group that's going to use up as much budget as it can. So for your $100 a day budget, one ad group can end up using $90, remaining only $10 for the other 3 ad groups, which is not efficient because the keywords in those 3 ad groups will not show for ads, right? Because they don't have any budget left. One particular ad group is just taking away all the budget. So that's really important, and there's no like one particular plan that something should be an ad group versus something should be a campaign. It's based on the need, it's based on the audience, it's based on your product. If you think that a particular set of keywords, instead of them being an ad group, should be their own campaign, then I would recommend for you to go ahead and create them as their own campaign rather than as an ad group. So that is one point that I would say, in order to maximize your spending, take a look at your AdWords account right now, see what campaigns you're running, see what ad groups you have. Do you have the right keywords within the ad groups? Are they similar? That's the other thing. The keywords within an ad group should be similar. They should not be complementary of each other. If that's the case, then I would say create separate ad groups for each one of those. The benefit for that is, for an ad group, you want the ad copy and the landing page within that ad group to be relevant to the keywords. So that is the first tip that we have, is go ahead, take a look at your campaign and ad structure. Tim, anything you want to add here?
Yeah, I mean, Bonnie, do you want to like with the number of keywords in any ad group, you probably want to limit it under 20 for sure, right? I mean,
Yeah, under 20, that's, I mean, I've seen, this is the other day, Tim and I were working on a particular client and we were looking at their campaign, and, the client reached out and he was like, I've been doing this for a while and not getting any returns. It was funny because when we logged in, the client had like 7 or 8 different products, but they just had one campaign and they had one ad group and they put everything within that ad group. All the products, everything was within one ad group. So again, it's inefficient because when you're spending budget, your ads are not relevant to your keywords because Google randomizes it. If a keyword belongs to a particular ad, it just picks an ad. If a keyword belongs to a particular ad group, Google just picks an ad that is from their ad group and shows it, right? So the first thing right off the bat we did was we corrected their campaign structure. And one thing, as to mention, is what you want to do is limit the number of keywords that you have within an ad group. You don't want to go too crazy and put everything that you can think of under the roof. You want to be very mindful of how relevant you want it to be to the search term that people are searching for. So the best practice is to have maximum of 20, but we tend to keep it under 10 now.
and the other thing I would add, Bonnie, is that we list here better quality score. We haven't really defined that for people who don't really know what that is. So quality score, basically your ad gets a score from 1 to 10. And the closer to 10, the better, because it means the less you pay for those keywords that you're bidding on. So the quality score, what involves the quality score are a few things. One is the landing page experience. One is the ad itself and the expected click-through rate on the ad. So if you can improve that, and it's like almost like improving the relevance for what people are searching for, right? The better your quality score, the less you're going to have to pay for that keyword, if that makes sense. So just make sure that obviously quality score is one of those areas, and we'll talk about that when we talk about the some of the things to look at from the optimization piece that we're going to cover later. Okay, ready, Bonnie? Should we go to slide 2?
Yeah, slide 2. All right. So the second tip that that you guys can go in and take a look right now is what keyword match type you're using. Now, the word match type is Google uses it to know when to show an ad for the keywords that you have within your campaign. And Google provides multiple ad types. The one that I have, the one that we have listed here are all the ad types. One is broad, the other one is modified broad, phrase match, exact match, and negative match. And what you want to do is you want to make use the optimal use of these match types. And I'm going to try to explain them a little bit. So broad match type is, as it explains, it's broad, right? So the example that we have here is if you're bidding on a keyword women's hat, what Google is going to do is it's going to show your ad for anything that it thinks is related to women's hat.
It could be super broad, by the way. Yeah.
It can be very broad. So the example here is women's clothing. Your ad will show up for that. Women's scarf. Your ad will show, winter headwear for women, and your ad's going to show for those keywords. Now, it can get very broad, right? Now you would say, why would you want to do that? Well, some companies do it who have a lot of, budget that they want to spend on Google Ads. They do broad marketing and they want to create awareness, top of the funnel marketing. So they run broad keywords and bid on they want to show ads for anything relevant that shows up for their search terms. But for smaller companies who are limited on budget, broad can hurt a lot, and you can end up spending a lot of money without getting a lot of returns, because your ads will show up for irrelevant search terms. Like if you don't want to show your ad for scarves when you're selling hats, right? So that's kind of the thing with broad match. The second is modified broad, which is my favorite, and we use that a lot. Is adding these plus signs in front of the keywords. And what it's telling Google is, I want to show the ad as long as whenever somebody's searching, they have the word woman and hat in their search term, no matter what their order is, no matter what their, plural, singular, spelling mistakes, anything. I don't care about all that. I want to show the ad as long as they have these two words in their search terms, which makes it very relevant because now you have more control over when your ad is showing up for. So women's hats will match for women's scarves and hats, women winter hats for women. So the order doesn't matter. As long as the word hats and women is present, the ad's going to show up. In hats for stylish women, right? These are just examples. But again, you can see now you have more control over when your ad is showing up, and you also don't have to worry about what the end user is searching. Mm-hmm. The third thing is phrase match, where the women's hat, the ad will show up as long as they appear as a phrase. Women's hat, they appear together in that particular order, your ad is going to show up. And then the last one is exact match, which is exactly, the ad will show up when they search for the exact keyword. So one thing in terms of optimization is make sure that you have the right keyword matching for the keywords within your ad groups. Because as I mentioned, if you do not have the right matching, you can end up spending a lot of money for irrelevant search terms. The other thing is within Google, when you launch the campaigns, you can go in and you can click on the ad and see for which search term the ad showed up for. And then you can take those keywords and add those as negatives, right? Now that brings to negative match. So for example, if you're bidding for plus women's plus hats, and then your ad showed up for free women's hat, and you don't want your ad to show up for, if anybody is searching for the word free, then you can add the word free as a negative, and then your ad will not show up anytime the word free appears in the search term. So that's kind of the thing here. Tim, anything to add?
No, I think just as you kind of think about strategically how you're going to approach it and to try to get the best ROI is sometimes you can start pretty broad, right? You can start because you as an individual, as much as you do your keyword research and everything else, you're not going to necessarily know all those terms that are relevant to what maybe your product is relevant for some of those searches, but you just haven't thought of all of them, right? So one reason to start broad is to kind of figure out what that universe of terms is. And then you can narrow that down as you go. Like Bonnie said, you can take something that are broad searches and then seeing, this is a popular exact match that people are just searching for all the time, right? So you can add that as an exact match later on. You can get more targeted as you go. And I think that is something that we recommend as you look at it is you can start broad, but apply those negatives, start getting more exact on those terms after you've done it for a little bit. Bonnie, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, there's this one initially earlier in my career when I used to work for an agency, they used to do this, and it was called the fishing technique, where they would fish for keywords that they can, starting broad, and they can find out more relevant keywords, and then that they would use in their phrase and exact matches. So that's definitely a good tip.
Right, all right, let's go to number 3.
So number 3 is sitelinks. Now, not sitelinks, sorry, extensions. So one thing that I want to mention is the benefit of Google Ad is you want to make it as prominent as possible on the search result page. You want to get the most real estate, right? The way you can do it is by adding extensions onto your ad campaign. Now, extensions are other content, other features that you can show about your product or service apart from the standard text limitation that Google provides. And Google has the text limitation for ad is you can only have up to 90 characters and 2 description lines, which is not a lot. but with extension, you can expand that and you can get a more
Oh, sorry, Bonnie, I think you froze. Bonnie, I think you froze. You wanna?
page and make your app.
Yeah. Do you wanna try that again, Bonnie? I think you froze a little bit.
Oh, okay. So not sure what part I froze, but what I was saying is by making extensions, you can make your ad more prominent and have it stand out. And Google provides up to, I believe, 16 or 17 different types of extensions that I would recommend anybody who is running Google Ads to make use of. One of the main extensions is called sitelinks, which are these additional links that show up underneath an ad. You might have seen that several times when you search for something, you have your ad, which has the standard headline and 2 description lines, but it has up to 4 links, which you can use to link out to other areas of your website or show something else about your product or service. So that's a site link. You can add, call out extensions, which are these bullet points that you can add, which can showcase more like a feature about your product or service, like 24/7 open, great rates, so on and so forth. And the other thing is you can add reviews that Google can pick. If you have connected it to Google My Business, then you can show reviews on there. Same thing with if you've connected it with Google Plus, which not many people use it right now, but it can also show social extensions. You can add phone number on there. You can add location. You can show a map. You can add price extension. If you have an app, you can add an app extension. If you're running a promo, you can add a promo. So those are all the other extensions that you can add to an ad to make it stand out and make it more prominent.
Yeah. The one thing I'd add here too is, in the past, if you work at a company that has, for example, it's a B2B or there's a sales aspect to it, one good thing to think about is the call extension, where you can, for mobile in particular, where you can add your phone number for people to actually call. So that it goes directly to a phone number. Ideally, you'd set up a separate phone number for it. But it's a great way to generate, particularly if there's a lot of, we're working with a client right now that a lot of their business is people calling them. So, but their ads didn't necessarily have a call extension on it. So part of it is adding that so that people can easily reach you. And it's a great way to kind of generate a lead, and as long as you can track it and understand what the
And the other good thing about the extensions is you have a lot of control in the way they show. You can control what time you want to run it, time of the day when you want to run it, what days you want to run it. So you have more control over it, and that's why it's a great way to make your ad stand out. And the reason we're all the changes that we're recommending is to get better click-through rates, more clicks, more traffic to your website, relevant traffic to your website that you can eventually convert into sales.
All right. Okay, we're moving on. Tip number 4.
Yeah. So tip number 4 is, and this is the last step. So.
We got a bonus though. Don't forget our bonus.
Yeah, we have a bonus step as well. Yeah. So in this tip, I wanted to talk about some of the important KPIs and some of the lesser known KPIs which have a lot of value and can provide a lot of great insight into your ad campaign. Now, in Google Ads, you have your standard KPIs that are key performance indicators that everybody looks at, which is how many impressions your ad received, how many clicks, what is the click-through rate, that is, the ratio of click over impressions, how many conversions that are leads that you got, what is the conversion rate, so how many, and the number of people that ended up on your landing page, how many of those converted, that's the conversion rate, your average cost per click, your return on ad spend. Those are the standard key performance indicators that you should always be looking at to make decisions in how to improve your campaign. If you're getting a lower click-through rate, which anything under 2%, I would say is lower, So if you're getting a lower click-through rate, take a look at your ad campaign, your ad structure, your keywords, your search terms to increase your click-through rate. If you're not getting enough clicks, enough impressions, then you want to adjust those and you want to improve your campaign. But those are the main keywords, key KPIs that everybody should be looking into. The ones that I want to talk about are the lesser known ones that people ignore but have a lot of value, right? So the two that I normally recommend people to look at is the search impression share. Search impression share due to rank and due to budget. Now, the reason these two metrics are important because it helps you answer the question, is my ad good enough? Or the second question is, am I spending a good amount of money that I should be spending? Should I spend more? Should I spend less, right? And these two metrics will answer that question. So search impression share is, let's say, you are eligible to, the keyword that you're bidding on is eligible to receive 100 impressions a day, but it's only getting 50 impressions. So your search impression share is 50%. So you're losing out on 50% of impression. Now, what search impression share due to rank will tell you of how much of that 50% you're losing because of rank. And ad rank is a combination of the amount of money that you're bidding on a particular keyword and the quality of the keyword, which is the relevancy to the ad copy and the landing page and or your ad copy and everything. Now, if you're losing a lot of impressions due to ad rank, then you know that, okay, I need to improve my ad copy. I need to improve my landing page experience because I'm not showing up as Google is thinking that my ad is not good enough to show for these search terms, right? Or I should adjust my bidding, right? So that's one indicator that it'll provide. The second one is search impression share due to budget. Now, if you're losing impressions due to budget, and then you know that, okay, I need to spend more money in order to get more impression share. So those are the two main indicators that I would say that people ignore, but they should be looking at and can provide great insight into their AdWords campaign to further improve it. A few other things that I normally would recommend you to take a look at is quality score that Tim mentioned earlier, which is how good your ad copy and your landing page experience and your keyword experience is to the search term that a user is searching for. So take a look at your quality score. It's at a keyword level, so you would have to look at your keywords to find the quality score for that particular campaign. And then two other metrics that for optimization purposes that I look into when we create reports for clients is obviously you want to optimize your campaign for conversion, but when are those conversions happening? What day of the week are they happening? What time of the day they are happening? So if your conversions are happening more during the day, like between like 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., and nothing is happening outside of those hours. So you may want to not run ads maybe during those hours, right? You can save money and you can pour more money during the 9 to 6, right? Same with if you're getting more conversions on a particular day, then you can bid more on those particular days and you can bid lower on the other days. So those are some KPIs that I would say to look at and how you can make use of those to improve your campaign.
Yep. No, those are great. All right, let's go to the last one. It's a bonus tip.
Yeah. So this is the bonus tip that we had. Is how can you achieve a good campaign structure, have the right matching type, make sure that your ad is relevant, and make sure that you have good impression shares and everything. One of this tactic has been around for a while, I would say for the last 3-4 years, and it's very widely used in the PPC community, is something called a SKAG, which is called single keyword ad group. What that means is when you create your campaigns, identify what your root keyword is, and then use that root keyword and then create ad group just by bidding on that particular keyword and not anything else. And you can include all the 3 match types within that particular ad group so that you make sure that you're showing up for, the modified broad, which I said, these, like both the search terms in this example meant some glasses here, both the search terms are present in the search term, or the phrase match, or the exact match. So you're just dominating that particular keyword on search results page. Why single ad group? Because when you have that, what you can do is you can create an ad copy which is specifically targeted to that particular keyword. And then you can also create a landing page which is specifically targeted to that particular keyword. What that helps is it helps you get a better click-through rate, a higher quality score. So single keyword ad groups tend to have a quality score of 8, 9, 10, which is the best that you can get. You can control the bidding. So, instead of bidding at a, like not knowing how much the keyword is costing or so on and so forth, you can control the bidding, and you exactly know what is the cost per click for that keyword. You can calculate your return on ad spend, and you can set a daily limit, and you can have more control over the bidding rather than Google deciding the bidding for you. You can get a much better search impression share, especially due to rank. You won't be losing out any impression shares due to that, so you can maximize that. And because of the relevancy and everything, it helps having a better conversion rate. So that's the benefit of a single keyword ad group that I would say. Not everything is good. I mean, there's some downside, it's a little time consuming, and you have to put in a little bit of effort to create this. So yeah, so that's the case with, that's the bonus tip here with single keyword ad group.
Yeah, and I think that just to add to that, I think if you look at the time consuming part of it, obviously, if you have hundreds of products, or some people have thousands of different product categories, right? It's going to be, that's not easy, and you have to manage all those different things. So part of it is understanding what you can do. If you have 5 different core product categories, yeah, right? I mean, you can go out there, and if you only sell glasses like Warby Parker, this is a great strategy for you. If you're Nordstrom Rack and you've got hundreds of different product categories, that's going to take you a little bit more time to kind of do this on this basis. So figuring out what that is, and we see this particularly with retailers all the time, right? When they do paid search, they have ads, and you're searching for furniture, and they show you something for clearance items over here that's something else. And we see that a lot, and that's because people don't have the time, or they don't make the effort to do it. The great part of what this is from a marketing standpoint, though, is that you can get really specific, and the more focused you can get, the better you're going to do. So
yep.
Makes sense. All right. Those were the big tips. The other thing I'd say, before we kind of go into how we can help you, is that the last thing to think about, obviously, with any ad that you put out there, is your copy matters, right? So make sure that your headlines have some calls to action in them, that they create urgency. It's like doing a line for if you're writing a blog, or if you're doing an email subject line, it's no different. I think what we see a lot is that a lot of organizations for example, they just do what their organic result would say, and they kind of put that as their headline, and that it's a lazy part of it, right? You want to try to create that urgency for somebody to click on that. And that's why you're doing the ad to start with. So just keep that in mind, that your copy really matters as well. And it seems obvious, but a lot of people don't really take that into consideration. But Bonnie, go ahead on this.
Yeah. So, again, those are the main tips. Again, there's a lot more than just these 4, there's targeting, there's bidding, there's a lot of other tips, but these were the mains that we just concentrated on this particular webinar. Now, some of the ways, we just wanted to share some of the ways how we can help. On the paid campaign areas, we have few products and solutions. One is, for a few of our clients, what we have done is we can do a one-time audit of your campaign and provide you with a keyword strategy and a paid marketing strategy. Like, this is how you should set up your campaign. Or if you already have a campaign, then we can find out, areas of improvement and provide recommendations that you can go ahead and implement yourselves, and optimize your campaign. So that one. The other thing is, we help our clients with ongoing PPC management as well. If you want us to just take over the PPC campaign, we can do that for you as well. And the third is we provide one-to-one PPC training. Tim and I both have been adjunct professor at Georgetown, so and also in digital marketing. So anything related to training, we are happy to provide training for paid campaigns. Same thing with the SEO and organic. For clients, you've been able to provide a one-time SEO strategy, content marketing plan, keyword research, content marketing schedule, which we have done it for a few clients and they've found it really helpful. So that is one thing that we can provide, or an ongoing SEO management, or a one-to-one SEO training. And the other product that we have is something called as a marketing help desk, which you can go on our site and sign up for. So marketing help desk is something where if you guys have a small team or a small business and you want to do most of the marketing and don't have the money to spend with an agency, you can hire marketing experts to provide ongoing training and guidance for your marketing teams or for yourself. So that is the help desk. And then, in general, we have the marketing consulting services, which, it takes over PPC, SEO, email marketing, social media marketing, link building, website development, and all those other things. So yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. We've got a few clients here that you can see. We provide dashboards and analytics on an ongoing basis. Does anyone have any questions for us at this moment? We got a few minutes that we can kind of cover some questions. If any of you have questions, I don't see any right now in the chat. But Bonnie, how about this for a question? We were talking about automated bidding strategies. A lot of agencies, they sort of let Google's engine optimize whatever that is. It could be maximizing clicks or maximizing conversions, and they sort of let Google sort of set it, and they let Google do it. What are some of the sort of the considerations around that? You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so that's a good question, actually. I mean, it's okay to take the recommendations from Google, but one thing to understand is it's Google's AI engine that is recommending all those changes, right? So, and they do not know your business as you do, or your products and services as you do. So it's always good to take those recommendations with a pinch of salt and go in and make changes on your own. Because one thing that I've seen is Google AI engine always wants you to spend more or ads or go the smart campaign route, which is very much hands off, and they love it because they have more control and you spend more money with them. So that is not something that I would recommend. And in terms of bidding, you need to have a history of bidding. You need to have a history of your conversion tracking before you can make use of any of the Google's automated bidding, such as maximize conversions or target CPA, those things. So, I mean, make sure initially that the conversion tracking and everything is proper, and you have a history of conversions coming in before we can, look into any of the Google's recommendation.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I think if you're conversion tracking, if you're not confident that it's right, which happens a lot, right? If you're not confident that it's accurate, you don't want to then let Google optimize for conversions that are phantom conversions somewhere. So you can get really off if you don't have everything set up the way you want to. Right? Okay. Last question, Bonnie, maybe, how about like this thing? All right, let's see. We got actually one question here, Q&A. Based on this is from Barry, based on your belief, if you start with a broad search, then plan to narrow based on results, is there a typical time frame that is required to go through this narrowing process? Thank you, Barry.
Again, it depends from industry to industry, Barry, and depends on the search volume for that particular keyword or that particular industry that you're serving in. But normally what I've seen is if you're starting broad, then you have to take a look at it every week to see that you're not spending money on irrelevant search terms, and making sure that you're adding negatives on a regular basis. And then I would say on a weekly basis, tracking it to find out the exact search terms that then we can make use of in our, narrow campaigns, right? The exact and the phrase match campaigns. We were doing this with one of our earlier clients, which was in the analytics and reporting industry, and their broad keywords were very broad. So like Google would show up on random search terms that were not even relevant, right? So so if you're doing that broad, then it requires to be more hands-on and take a look at it on a regular basis. But in terms of time frame, I would say 2 to 3 weeks is good enough to get a good idea of what are some of the most high converting or the most relevant search terms that can be used in a narrow campaign.
How about Bonnie, last question. We talked a little bit about budget. You get your Google rep right after you set up ads and you start your account, and the Google rep is always pushing you to kind of spend more. And in some cases that could be the solution, as you mentioned, with maybe low impression shares here or there. But kind of what are some of the considerations around the spending more to kind of rank higher, to get more visibility, to get more impressions, et cetera? Can you talk about that a little bit?
So the search impression share metric is the important metric here to take a look into. Google reps would always recommend you to spend more or change the bidding. But what I've normally done in that case is understanding why they're recommending those changes and applying it to your products and your campaigns, and seeing how they would see fit. One of the other thing that you can do within Google Ads is you can run experiments or A/B testing. So you can have one campaign and you can split the traffic for that particular campaign, and you can do one to the bidding that Google is recommending and one to what you think is the correct one. Run it for a period of time, maybe a month or so, and see what conversion rate you're getting from both of those campaigns, or what is the return on ad spend you're getting, and just go with the winning one.
No, that's a great suggestion. A/B testing, obviously, with any ad is critical too. So it's a great way to see which one is going to perform better, and that'll improve your ROI as well.
Just from an experience point of view, there have been times when the Google AI recommendations have not been the best. Like the return on ad spend or maximize conversion is not always the best bidding strategy to get the most returns.
Yep. All right. I think that we just want to make sure that we kind of wound this up and wrap this up pretty quickly. I hope that was helpful for you. We want to thank you. If you want to contact us afterward, you can send us a note to contact@marketingniceguys.com. I'm also Tim at marketingniceguys.com. Bonnie's Bonnie at marketingniceguys.com. So definitely drop us a line. Just even if you just want to say hello, we'd be happy to hear from you. And again, thank you. Thank you guys for attending. All right. Thanks for attending.
Bye.
Bye-bye.